Hey guys, welcome to week number 13. We are officially 3 weeks out from the end of the semester. Exciting, exciting. Things are all downhill from now. So hopefully we all are catching up or caught up with all that we need to do with everything and getting ready to head into that last push before we're free for a few months from school anyway. So let me start off by saying last week I really enjoyed the conferences that I had with pretty much everyone who normally does conferences with me. I think you all know by now we've lost about half our class somewhere along the way. But you know what? The rest of you are all here, we're all participating, and this last project is looking really exciting. So looking at the videos from last week where I asked you all to think about audience and examples in audience and looking at how you're going to reach a specific audience, we all did a really great job. I think there was only one kind of the audience is everybody response, which is what we're really trying to move away from. The rest of you were able to get really specific about audience members and who they were, how we were trying to reach them. So some that I will pull out just to mention, we had our Trump ad from Cherie, who's looking at how his particular political advertisement is aiming itself towards possibly male, uneducated, white demographic. And that was really nice research that we did there, and looking at how his ads actually are framed in a way that they're going to reach this particular audience, where he doesn't do a lot of television ads. He focuses more on social media campaigns, kind of making it easily accessible to a large group of people. We had the Taco Bell commercial aiming to reach perhaps a younger generation of men, but also playing with some aspects of reaching a female audience with the type of models that they put in their commercial. We had, the Inside Out clip, which I had not watched that movie before, and I did not care that it was spoiled for me. So thanks for the warning, Jessica, but I watched it anyway, so I figure I got my fill of Inside Out now. But the idea of using that as almost an educational tool for children to teach them about emotions and depression and things like that. And I really like the quote that you pulled out from the readings: if you're writing to anyone, you're writing to no one. So I want everyone to keep that in mind as we continue to talk about audience a little more this week. But continuing with the videos, we also had many of you actually took this route where you use an ad or something related to the media campaign that you're responding to in your own projects, and you turned it around and said, well, if this is their audience, I'm going to try to target the same one, which I actually think works out really well, especially for things like the body shaming and the Black Lives Matter campaign that Jessica is responding to. If you really want to get at creating a change, then you start with the people that perhaps need the change, right? So to relate this to something I did last week in my English 100 class, they're working on argument essays, and I had them watch 12 Angry Men. And if any of you have seen that film before, that was a remake in the late 90s, I believe. It's essentially a jury who have been selected to determine the guilt or innocence of a 18-year-old who's killed his father, or they, guilt or innocence, so they think. And they start with one person on the jury thinking he's innocent and all the rest thinking he's guilty, or one person having reasonable doubt and all the rest going guilty, and he attempts to turn everyone by the end of the film. So I see the idea of targeting the audience that's already on one side and switching them to your side as being a great way to garner some support for whatever message you're creating. There was Elle who looked at the ASPCA commercial that had you kind of rattled just watching it yourself, and I really like being able to pick out the $18 a month donation means that they're targeting people who have a job, because if you don't have a job, then where are you going to get the money? But everyone did a really great job of, here's what this ad did, especially if it was already what you were aiming to correct, and turning that around for your purposes. So looking at the blogs, they were doing a lot of the same stuff we talked about in conferences last week. I think I finished every conversation with most of you with, I'm so excited, I can't wait to see where all this goes. Everyone's got very different ideas going on. So I think if you looked at the blogs from Saturday, we have songs, we have stickers, we have children's books, we have coloring books, we have filmed video commercials. So all of these ideas I'm really excited about. I will tell you that they're going to make for some much more exciting end of the semester grading than I'm used to lately. So I am really looking forward to seeing where you go with this. With the blogs last week, you came up with 5 different options. I don't expect you to do any of them if you decided these aren't going to work, I want to go a different way. It was just a prompt to get you to start thinking ahead. So for this week then, the video is getting us to think about the different conventions of the genres that you'll be creating in. So I have a reading for you about genre theory, and it talks about how people typically, I'm reading this off of the blog page, the video page by the way, how people typically compose in a space, what voice, tone, word choice they use, organizational structure, what's a common way to organize text in this genre, what types of multimedia elements are expected or not, how is research incorporated, is it incorporated at all, might even be a question, what role visuals, colors, and images play, various other questions in that link. So read that. It's a little longer than we're used to, but it's not alarmingly long. I think it was somewhere around 15 pages. I also give you a link to a Wikibooks page that talks about genre conventions in online spaces. I know a lot of you guys were talking about possibly doing blogs, so I imagine this is going to be helpful, a helpful resource. So what I'm asking you to do then for the video is, as always, consider what you're reading about, the questions they pose in regards to the text that you'll be creating. I have a list of questions there for you to consider, and in your responses I want you to talk about each of the texts. So hopefully by now you'll have settled on what text you want to produce, but talk about how each of the texts and talk about how each of your texts and the genre conventions you can include in the space they inhabit. Right? So if you're doing a Facebook page, what kind of things can you put on a Facebook page? Links to news articles about your topic. You can create a Facebook quiz. I know Kyle's doing that one. You can do memes. You can just do posts with quotes in them. Facebook is kind of a wide open platform. With blogs, what can you do with a blog that you can't do with other things? So that might help, is to think about what can I do in this space that I can't do in other spaces, and even thinking about the different texts you'll create. What are you going to be able to do in a coloring book that you can't do in a children's book or something, right? Let's see. So I'm asking you then to consider all the ways that others have composed in these spaces and genres, and the different options you have, both textually and visually, to make your argument. So that's what I'll be asking you to think about for the video response. For your blog, I'm asking you to pick up from the discussions in conferences and the homework that we had last week. We're looking at audience last week and purpose of our assignments. So I'm now going to ask you to combine those two together, thinking about how you are going to be providing a call to action to your audience. So reflecting on the call to action you want to inspire in your audience members. And I won't go into too much detail on that one because it's really all on the blog page. It's a series of questions. Think about this, think about that. And you can go there for that stuff. So coming up in these last 2 weeks, actually before the project is due on the 25th, which is 2 weeks from today, next week we will be workshopping these things. So if you notice on the week 13 page, the calendar page, I tell you to get going or continue working on these different projects, these different texts, if you haven't already. So next week we'll be doing a workshop thing. It's going to be different from what we've typically been doing because, again, this won't be written stuff. So if you're doing a Facebook page, perhaps what you might want to do if you haven't created the page yet is maybe even draw up something, some kind of mock version of it where you could get some feedback on what you might do. Okay, so do what you can for right now. If it's something you are struggling to produce before the workshop, have something that you can get response on that's not just, can you edit the text that I'm going to put on my Facebook or whatever. Actually have some kind of layout or plan for what this is going to be, what's it going to look like. Alright, so quick video this week. I think that's all I need to say. Again, I'm really excited about where these are going, and I think a lot of you guys are too, just from the length of many of the videos last week. Lots of you who tend to have 2-minute videos had 11-minute videos last week. So, very excited to see where this goes. Very excited to be nearing the end of the semester. I hope you guys are all doing okay, not stressing too much. So have a good rest of your week, and I'll see you next weekend for the second to the last video post. Alright, have a good one.